Looking for a low-risk, high-reward investment? Stay tuned as I reveal how to make smart investment choices.
Hey everybody, this is Ted Thomas. He's the Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. And believe it or not, today Ted's going to tell us how you can get the local government to pay you. So Ted, can you tell us how can an ordinary citizen actually get the government to send them a check?
Well, there's a little known, highly lucrative investment. It's called tax lien certificates. Now, these are sold, they're actually auctioned across the United States. 1,500 counties auction tax lien certificates. They're considered safe and secure, and they pay a high interest rate. And the bidder is in a bid down situation, which I'm going to explain as I go along here. So tax lien certificates are sold in 1,500 different counties. The local government guarantees the interest rate. So what's really going on here? The local county is selling tax liens, which is a claim. The claim is they haven't got paid their taxes. Now they sell them at auction because the property owner failed to pay the mandated taxes. So in the United States, for hundreds of years, local governments have collected property tax. It's really a wealth tax. It's due every year. The county collects the tax, and then they use that revenue to pay the county bills. For example, when the money comes in from taxes, what they do is they pay the county employees. That's a payroll. How about the school teachers, the police department, the firefighters, the sheriff? You're getting the idea. There's lots of payrolls for them to pay.
Well, what's the most surprising benefit that a tax lien certificate would make our viewers right now just do a double take to learn?
Well, I think it surprises people to find out that tax lien certificates pay very high interest rates, okay? They actually pay outrageous interest rate. In Arizona, the treasurer is allowed and authorized to pay up to 16%, Florida up to 18%, Iowa up to 24%. So these are considered some pretty outrageous interest rate. So how does that work? Well, the property owner failed to pay their tax. All right, I already mentioned that was in 1,500 different counties. The treasurer will send a notice of default. That's a legal notice. Okay, it's a claim against the property. A short time later, the certificate will become a tax lien certificate. In other words, the property owner hasn't paid. So the treasurer is going to auction that certificate. Anybody can buy it. So these auctions are authorized by the legislature. They're conducted by the Board of Supervisors, telling the treasurer and the tax collector to have an auction. Anyone can buy a tax lien certificate. When you buy it, you pay someone else's taxes. At the point of sale, where the sale takes place, the county is really happy because now they have money for the payroll. All right, so they're happy about that. But what about the owner of the property? Well, they're happy too because they don't get evicted from the property. In other words, they're not pushed out onto the street. They can stay in the property. They just have a tax certificate actually attached to their property. The tax lien buyer is really happy because they own a certificate, which could be a great investment that could pay up to 18, 24% interest on that certificate, depending upon which taxing district they bought it in. What I'm talking about is a secure investment. If the property owner fails to pay the certificate, fails to pay it during a specific redemption period, then the tax lien investor, the person that bought that certificate, is going to get a property free and clear of a mortgage and a deed of trust loan. This is a safe, secure investment, but you must do your homework prior to that purchase.
You know, I've heard some myths about tax liens, Ted. What's like the most outrageous myth you've ever heard and you'd like to bust right now here on camera?
Well, everybody thinks you're going to buy a tax lien certificate and there's no risk in it. Well, I'm here to tell you there is a risk in buying a tax lien certificate. First of all, I think it's the safest, most lucrative investment in America today. Okay, but there's thousands of investors. They go out and they buy a tax lien certificate, but they haven't looked. Where is it? Is it in a bad neighborhood? Is it a bad property? Is it a burned down property? What is it? So you need to do your due diligence. If you don't have any idea what the value of the property is or where it is, you could lose your money. Now, what am I talking about here? All auctions conducted by the county are as-is auctions. What does that mean? Well, uneducated investors don't know what that means. That means they're going to make big mistakes. An as-is auction simply means whatever's there is what you're going to get. So if the property has a burned down house, well, do you want a burned down house? When you have given your money to the county, I can tell you right now, the county is not going to refund that money. Same situation. If you bought a property and it's in a bad neighborhood, well, in a bad neighborhood, they might never pay the tax lien. So you're going to lose your money. You don't want that. All right, so these are examples of uneducated buyers. All right, this happens repeatedly until someone finally finds out that they're not going to get a refund. I'm here to tell you, I've seen this happen dozens of times where people buy and they didn't look at the neighborhood, they didn't look at the condition, they have no idea what they bought. And I'm going to tell you, once you give that money to the county, oh boy, the county is not going to refund your money. So you need to look at the neighborhood, look at the property. If you buy undesirable tax lien certificates, you're in big trouble. Huge risk.
So if somebody's interested in tax lien investments, are there any states that are hidden gems in terms of their favorable laws or returns?
I think there's quite a few hidden gems. I mean, you hit it right on the head. Actually, I call them redeemable deeds. Now, that's another form of tax defaulted auction. Okay, this is a little known investment, but boy, it's highly lucrative. Now, redeemable tax deeds take place in approximately half a dozen states. Now, many newcomers are confused, so let me think a way to kind of straighten this out. So let's just use Texas and Georgia to start with, okay? Those are both redeemable tax deed jurisdictions. So here's how it works. In Georgia, keep in mind, the state creates its own rules. So if you go to another state, it's going to be different than Georgia. All right, so when you know the rules, then you're going to be okay. So briefly, in Georgia, it's divided into 159 local government counties, okay? Now, each of them is authorized to sell at a tax auction. They call it a redeemable deed auction. Now, the auction is conducted either by the sheriff or the ex officio sheriff. All right, now this auction, they're going to deliver a deed to whoever's the highest bidder. But that deed is a redeemable deed. So they're going to sell the deed to the highest bidder. So the highest bidders have it. So the auctioneer has sold and issued a deed. However, the deed is referred to as redeemable. What does that mean? Well, that simply means in Georgia, any time during that year, that's a redemption year, the delinquent taxpayer can come forward and pay back 100% return of capital to the buyer plus 20%. That's a huge penalty, and they can get their property back. So let me repeat that. The investor purchaser is going to get a deed, but it's a redeemable deed. So it's as simple as this. Anytime during the year, the defaulting owner can come forward, pay 100% return and a 20% penalty, and guess what? They have got their property back. Now that can happen anytime during 365 days. If they wait to the 366th day, they'll have to pay a 30% penalty instead of a 20% penalty. All right, now there's a similar system that's going to work in Texas. Now, the Texas penalty is 25%, and the redeemable time is not 1 year, it's only 6 months, 180 days. Indiana will have their own rules, Rhode Island will have their own rules, Connecticut will have their own rules. Hope you got the idea.
Hey, listen, if you have any questions for Ted yourself, just leave in the comments sections below. You will get an answer to that. And Ted, I think you do have a free gift for these folks.
They can go right below me for a free gift.
Right there in the description column, folks. Thanks for watching.